And players will literally come into my chat and they're like, Chris, I don't know if I can do this. And developers need to understand that not only will you push those players away, but you might push them even further because they never want to deal with that again.
If you've been watching your favorite Street Fighter player on Twitch recently, you might have noticed that they're way more prone to crashing out, including myself. And if you've been wondering why is it that my favorite players are crashing out on this game, then you're tuning into the perfect episode of Talking with T to help me cover this conversation of why everyone has been crashing out, not even just in Street Fighter, but in Tekken and the other games like Guilty Gear and whatnot, is none other than one of the greatest fighting game players of all time, Chris G. My brother, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh, what's up, man? What's up? Thank you for having me. Yeah, man, you couldn't be more correct. You know, if there's someone that knows the emotions of playing fighting games and knows what it does to you sometimes, you know, of course, it is me.
Yeah, well, you're not alone. So let's get right into the conversation here. Yesterday, the reason why I wanted to actually have this episode with you was because yesterday we played a first to five, my Ken against your modern Mai, and you absolutely killed me. I didn't even get a match on you, and I don't even think I got a round on you. It was like, and I was sweating. I was trying so hard. And it sent me down the crash out route because I couldn't figure out what to do. And it was just getting so frustrating dealing not just the EX fans, but the modern burnout. I couldn't touch you. So I went to your stream and I'm crashing out. And then you start crashing out even though you won. But you said something that was very important. And it caught my attention. You said, how can we have the best era for fighting games, but everyone is miserable? Considering prize pools, sponsorships, more viewers than ever, why does it feel like everyone's either burnt out or just hates playing the game?
Well, for starters, fighting games, you know, at this point in 2025, there's a lot. There's a lot to play. You know, it hasn't been this way since like 2011. You know, so we're talking about like over 10 years ago was the last like golden age of fighting games. Right now we got Street Fighter 6, we got Tekken, we got Grand Blue, we got Strive, we got MK, Project 2X, KO is coming out soon. You got Fatal Fury coming out soon. And even games like Hunter x Hunter, right? There's so many games coming out. And the reason why I think everyone is you know, not necessarily miserable, but they're on edge. And it's because everyone is dealing with so much in these games. And what I mean by that is like, even coming from Marvel, Marvel 3, Street Fighter 4, I've never dealt with so much before. You know, before it was like, you know, you get a hit and you're rewarded, right? But in order to get those hits back then, it was a lot of work, right? You kind of had to outplay your opponent. You had to make sure, because like, remember, you don't want to get hit too. But in this game, in all these games now, there's so many forced guesses. And I'm not opposed to guessing, right? Of course, you know, we dealt with, you know, Snake Eyes and Wednesday Night Fights and all these other players.
It's fighting games. You're going to guess. I mean, it's part of the attraction to it. You're going to guess. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Marvel 3, right? You're dealing with Virgil and all these other characters, and you're going to guess, and you're going to die. But I think the difference between then and now is that you're not necessarily earning those guesses anymore. You know, before, if you knock me down and you get your 50-50, right? What happens after that 50-50? You know, you might get another mix-up maybe, right? If it's like a forced interaction, maybe you're plus on block after a normal. And then that's it. We go back to neutral. There's nothing you can do unless you try to force another situation, and at that point you're putting yourself in danger, right? So like, I can react to what you're doing. But nowadays, you know, Street Fighter 6, that's happening 24/7. You're literally, you think you're playing neutral, you think you're having a good game, boom, 50-50. And after that 50-50, it's practically still their turn. Then after that 50-50, boom, another one, and then another one. And again, you keep thinking that you're going to try to play smarter than the next person, But let's be real, you're not, right? Tekken 8 right now, that's practically what's happening.
I mean, and this is also important because you're known to be a master of so many fighting games. You know, you're literally a legend in the scene, and you've competed, and not just competed, but won in almost every single fighting game. So I feel like you're a great person to have to discuss this because you've seen so many different fighting games from the easiest to the hardest, and you have a little bit more knowledge in these cases.
Yeah, 100%. I've been around since Third Strike, so the evolution of fighting games, is something that I know like a lot about. And going back to what I was saying, right? So I'm learning Tekken, and the one thing that I noticed very quickly, like, are people reacting to this stuff? And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, obviously I suck, but I'm also just okie doking people. What? Why am I doing that? What is there something wrong with my opponent? Like, do they suck? Am I getting better faster? Or, the most important thing, are we just guessing? And like, I got my shit and they're like, I hate to break it to you, but we're kind of just guessing. And I was like, wait, no, that's not correct. I didn't turn off Street Fighter 6 to learn a new game and realize I was dealing with the same thing. And I think another issue, right, is that how before you had to gain bar in order to do things. If you wanted to be plus on block, you needed to gain the bar to be plus on block.
To FADC, to low forward fireball, FADC, I'm in your face. But I had to gain that bar first.
Yep. In Marvel, right? If I wanna do rapid slash with Virgil, it's punishable on block. But I need a bar in order to activate swords in order to be, safe, right? Or do my mix up. But I'm noticing that in these games, you're starting off with the ability to force the guess, right? So I was like, wait, hold up. How does Tekken work? You mean to tell me that at any given moment, I can just activate, be plus on, mind you, the activate has plus on, it has armor. And then to realize I'm +1 or +2, and then I can just force the guess right there, and I have access to that every single round. And so, like, I'm dealing with characters like Kuma, and I'm just like, dog, first of all, I don't even know what's happening to me right now. And it's just like plus, guess, plus, grab, plus, low, plus, mid, plus, crush. And I'm like, dog, there's no way. And then now to hear that the patch that just came out, it's just making them deal with it worse. Dog, it's just too much.
And I want to focus on that feeling of too much. I think one of, if not the most beautiful part of fighting games, especially for Street Fighter, what it was for me was the art of opening up your opponent. Like, there was such a gratifying feeling of winning and getting the knockdown and getting your mix up to work because you earned the hit. It's like when you get a gold star by your teacher in elementary school, like you did something positive and there was a good dopamine hit that you got from opening up your opponent. Now, the common trend here, at least that we've seen, is people aren't even happy winning anymore in Street Fighter 6. Like, I'm not happy when I win. The other 2 days ago, I'm on Dual Kevin's stream. He's not happy even though he won. Yesterday, Kami's crashing out, and I have clips of that. I think I'm going to put that in this video. But I crashed out against you. You crashed out even though you won against me. And I actually had a conversation with Vae, who's also going to be on Talking with T in one of these episodes, to talk about this, where he's saying that he's never seen a time like this. Everyone is just not happy. Everyone is not happy because it feels like not only did we not earn it, but even losing hurts more because you don't know to the full extent of what you can do to avoid the 50-50, the forced guess. What is that? Why are we seeing this? Everyone is just not having fun anymore, and the whole point is to have fun. Where's the fun?
I think it was lost somewhere between a 0-bar Rashid and when he gets level 2. I think somewhere along you realize, wow, I'm having a good time, and then it's just gone. And mind you, like speaking of Rashid, right? When the character first came out, I was playing that character. And I was like, wow, I really like all the different things I could do. Obviously I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, wow, I can't wait to like learn some more. As I learned more, I realized, oh my God, I'm really just kicking this thing at them. I started to realize that the things that I was doing was to ensure that situation. So it wasn't even trying to play good or play smart. It was literally like sometimes I would find myself drive rushing like 7 times. Like in a row, just over and over and over again. Get one hit or get one forced situation, or even better yet, getting one throw mid-screen, and then boom, tornado. And I could just imagine, right? Like all these players that are playing these characters, they're forcing the situation, and then they go, if I win, cool. If I lose, cool. I asked this question. You know what? I'm gonna ask you too. So, you played, the last 2 Street Fighters, right? Let's say a tournament of 100 people. Out of those 100 people, how many of them would risk their tournament career on a wake-up super? Street Fighter 4, then going into Street Fighter 5, and now going into Street Fighter 6, the same 100 people are playing all 3 games. What is the escalation of waking up with super in those games?
From very low to very high. From Street Fighter 4 to, yeah. Like you would barely do Wake Up Ultra. If a Wake Up Ultra combo hit, it shocked everybody.
Yep, not even the fact that it would hit, it was the fact that you had the audacity. Like, yo, this guy really did that. Like, who do you think I am? You know what I'm saying? So out of 100 people, you had maybe 15 people would risk their life on a wake-up super or ultra.
It's the Momochi $30,000 uppercut against Ryan Hart. It's like a similar thing. It's a similar situation. Not Wake Up Ultra, but Momochi did Wake Up DP that eventually led him to win Capcom Cup.
Yep, like, and who, and that's the thing, right? Like, in these situations, you really risked. I mean, not really risked, you weighed the options, right? Now, from 4 going into 5, I would say, I don't know, maybe like 35 people
35 to 40, yeah,
would risk their whole life on this super, right? Going into Street Fighter 6, and again, this is how that the direction of fighting games is I'm not saying going downhill, but it's going in a different direction where you could do things and walk away without looking at the screen. So I would say about 65 to 70 out of 100. Imagine that. 70 out of 100 people would risk their life off a super. I'm just going to say that's insane. And I find myself doing it all the time. Like I'd be like, dog, you know what? F it. Super.
Yeah, because that's good because you're going to do it again anyway in the next round because you're going to be pretty much in the same situation. So I think, and this is interesting as well because the previous episode that I had with Ryan, where he was trying to shed light on these types of situations and finding an answer to them, even having that conversation with him, I still feel like there's a certain plateau that you'll reach as not just a top player, but a player who understands the game. And that plateau is like, okay, I could lab this setup, but I still feel pretty crappy when I lose to it because I felt like there really wasn't much for me to do, but accept it. You know how you said if you win, cool. If you lose, cool. There's much more like acceptance now when I lose because I'm just defaulting into it's just the game. It's just the game. And I don't even think that's healthy for the player. I think the player should lose and look at the situations and be like, I messed up that parry timing. I messed up my one frame combo here that could have gotten me the round. I shouldn't have let a jump in happen. See, like before, jump ins were like drive rush, where if you but not as strong, obviously, but it's a big momentum changer. If you let a jump in happen and you did an anti-air, it's like you could pick that spot and say, that's where I messed up. I need to work on my anti-air recognition, But now it's like there's jump ins, there's drive rush, there's drive impact, there's drive rush special cancel move. Like I can't even check Bison's drive rush scissor kick. If I check it, I'm losing 65%. For a drive rush light scissor, it's punish countering me for checking. it's punish countering me for checking, and there's so many different scenarios of this. I'm leading this into the next question, which is, why does it feel like everyone's playing the exact same way now? Whether it's drive rush jab, throw loops, safe pressure, it's like we're all doing the same thing over and over. Why do you think the meta got this stale?
It's like how what I was saying earlier, right? You, as a player, right, especially like as you get older, right? So right now I'm 34 years old. I want to play footsies. I don't want to rely on this type of stuff. It gets to a point where you're like, you have to become one of them. Like no matter what you try to do, no matter how much you try to fight it, you have to do the thing. If you don't do the thing, you're either playing the wrong character, you're playing the wrong game. Actually, at this point, you shouldn't even play fighting games. And that's the really big issue, right? So like, this is what people are realizing. The risk reward with doing these like mechanics, right? With doing the things that the game is telling you to do, there's no real risk because there's no real danger. And that's where people are starting to understand. It's like, all right, well, if there's no real danger, why not just keep spamming it? It might hit one time. That feeling right there, that it starts to settle in, and it starts to fester, it starts to grow. Damn it, like they just keep doing it over and over and over again. They keep jumping. It doesn't matter how many times you anti-air them. They keep drive rushing no matter how much time you check them. Because if you get hit once, it's a, and I don't want to throw them under the bus, but it's a Noah factor, right? No matter how much you stop it, it'll keep going.
Yeah. And I don't think you're like, you've never like done that, like he's obviously one of the best players. And yeah, but I literally played him yesterday or the day before, and this is my boy. Like, I love Noah, but I literally checked his drive rush. Next interaction, he jumps. I checked the jump in. The next interaction, he does like a charge knuckle. The next interaction, he does this. It's like he knows how to abuse the system in the way that it needs to be abused, and we're talking about the fact that it allows this, and traditionally it hasn't allowed this. And I also want to highlight something here, Chris. When I was learning Street Fighter 4, I was taught, solid fundamental play with punishing, controlling space, fireball game. Now it feels like I have to dump 80% of what I've learned and relearn fighting games, and that's just go, 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 drive rush, drive rush, drive rush. Like, I have to force myself to drive rush. I have to force myself to learn how to play the game in the current design and way that it's played. And I'm struggling in that because we're older players, and I'm sure like there's like a funny aspect of it when you're also learning and whatnot. We'll get into that, but keep going with what you were saying. It's the Noah play style.
Yeah, and this is exactly why I play. Speaking of that, it's exactly why I play the way I play. It's exactly why I play modern. Obviously, we didn't know what she was going to become. I had an idea, but I realized if Noah's going to burn himself out in the first 2 seconds, why can't I do the same thing in a different way, right? Anybody who's ever seen me play a video game, literally any video game, right? I stream a bunch of different stuff. I will always do something differently. And for Street Fighter 6, that difference is modern. And I'm like, okay, you know what? If you want to play this way, I'll meet you in the middle. If we're both in this situation together, I could come out on top. That's why, besides for the, reactions and stuff and the better anti-airs, but that's exactly why I play modern. I want to meet you in this weird spot that you actually start getting uncomfortable. You are scared of your buttons. You are scared to toss stuff out. You are afraid to jump. And that makes me feel like I'm doing something. It's almost as if like I'm forcing Street Fighter.
And like you've essentially made your own Noah playstyle, to be honest, with talking about like, Noah abuses the system, but now you're abusing the system as well in a way that like I never thought that you would, playing modern, considering you never plinked before for one frame hits. It's like you are the definition of a traditional fight stick using fighting game player, and now it's like you've cheated the system by going modern.
Yeah, it's because someone has to. Like, take Capcom Cup, for example. We watched a lot of people just get okey-doked. It's mainly because the mental stack that, like, you are dealing with so many options.
About those options, go into detail. What is the mental stack from your perspective?
It's weird, too, because people didn't use the word mental stack that much before. Right? Because you were dealing with just what? Carrot throw, universal overhead, an SPD from Zangief. And none of those situations led to death. Right? Now, it's not even the fact that that you're going to get got by those moves. It's the fact that there's a threat of every single one of this stuff that just starts to overload your brain's processes to the point where, boom, you fail, like you completely just crumble, and the person starts to get away with all this stuff, right? So we're talking about the threat of grab, the threat of command grab, the threat of drive rush, the threat of regular dash, the threat of jump, the threat of fireball, the threat of EX fan or giant tornado. Right? It's at this point, it's just the threat of all of that stuff. And then we're not even going to forget that, like, certain moves are plus on block or certain normals. There's just so much, and it's just overloading your processes. And
it's also, sorry to interrupt, it's also because every single one of these options can lead to your death. It's like there doesn't seem to be the lesser of two evils anymore. It's like every single one of these options is putting you in the same okie doke.
Every single one of these characters, whether or not you think they're bad or good, they all can just loop things over and over and over again. Freaking, what was it? Remember when people were like, Zangief has no Oki? Why is it, if that's the case, why is it that anytime I get hit with literally a jab, I lose? And they're talking about, oh, but he doesn't, he can't do this, or he can't do that. No, every single person in this game plays Street Fighter 6.
Yes, even the worst characters in the game. People are saying Marissa is bottom 3. Have you been touched by Marissa before? 60% into Oki, either command grab or another back fierce into game over. If she touches you with crouch medium punch DRC, it's 60%.
And people think that, like, that means a character's bad. Like, there is no bad character. Whenever something happens to you in this game, and then it happens again, you got Street Fighter 6. Like, that's it. It doesn't matter who is on screen. It doesn't matter whether or not my EX fanned you. It doesn't matter whether or not Zangief pressed forward fierce. That's plus 17,000. It doesn't matter whether or not Rashid kicked a tornado or Akuma jumped at you with 7 options. You got Street Fighter 6. If any of those options hit, at any given moment, you can get perfected. I've never seen more perfects in my life. Everyone. I think I might have like a 20% perfect ratio. That means that when I fight somebody, I have a 20% chance that they'll get perfected. Do you know how insane that sounds?
That's the design. That's the design of the game, though. Getting a perfect on somebody, a flawless victory, feels good, like you did something,
And all I did was throw EX fan.
And all I did was throw EX fan into drive rush crouch medium kick or drive rush overhead. I mean, it's the same thing with Ken too. It's actually very important. If you guys haven't watched the SFL World Championship final between Kawano and Punk, I really want you to see how Kawano, the moment Kawano realizes he's down 2-0, the moment he realizes I can't really do anything in neutral, I have to start the round with walk up crouch medium kick DRC or do fireball. I like walk back fireball into drive rush behind it. Like he accepted what he has to do and then did that and ended up winning. So my question is, do you think the current game design is part of the problem? Are the mechanics and systems too focused on easy offense, not enough defense, or maybe the mechanic is just not fun to interact with anyone? That's a 3-part question, and I really want to stress on the not fun. What is not fun about doing drive rush? What is not fun about not being able to defend yourself? And you are one of the hardest players to open up. You're known to play a defensive zoning style in Marvel and also even in Street Fighter, even though you didn't really play zoners in Street Fighter 4. You played Sakura. You did play Guile in 5, and it's you've always been one of the hardest players to open up because you're such a fundamentally sound player. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fun of the easy offense and the defenses not being so strong in this game.
Remember when the Street Fighter 6 beta was out?
Yeah, we tweeted about it. We tweeted about it too.
We were like, dog, oh my god, the footsies, me and you walking back and forth, trying to low forward each other. I'm playing Jamie, you're playing Ken, and we're just trying to do all this stuff, but we didn't know that we both needed to just turn green. So like normally every single situation has a counter to it, right? In most fighting games. And that's what makes it fun. You do this, I have to react with this. You do this, I have to react with that. So on and so forth, right? What makes these mechanics not fun, right? And I can go down the line, right? So I guess I'll just do that, right? Drive impact. There's a clear answer on how to deal with it. You turn red yourself. You DI back. You can drive reversal, even though that sucks, right? I'll get into that in a second. You can jump. You can throw it. You can super it, right? There's a few things that you can do while you see it visually. You can see it. So because you can see it, you can react to it. Now, turning green is a completely different mechanic. It doesn't make sense in terms of what you can actually do to deal with it. And that's where I feel like this is where the corniness starts. So a person turns green, you block a button, and then it's a guess. A guess that is in their favor by it's like a 33% chance. 33%. It's just their turn. That's it. And there's nothing you can do about it. And not to mention, and I think this is where, people are getting confused in the tier list, and some people think Terry is really good or Terry's, not as good. What happens when you get burnt out against a lot of the cast? They're just gonna loop. You might, and this is the thing too, you could have 100% life. And because of that one thing that you thought was the smart decision, you think that this is how you're supposed to play. You're learning and learning and learning. And then when you go, I thought this was the good option. Why am I punished for the good option? Why was he able to block in time? Why was my reversal, why didn't it work in this situation? Why did Drive Rush eat my jump input and now I get random legs in neutral? You know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm trying to do the smart thing. Why am I getting punished for it? Why isn't there a clear and concise answer for certain things?
Yeah, I think you mentioned turning green, and there's 3 different kinds of drive rush. There's the DRC, drive rush cancel from the button. There's also the neutral drive rush, the instant neutral drive rush. And then there's also the slight parry into drive rush, which messes up your timing. So technically on paper, someone could just say, well, just check the drive rush, right? In the same manner that we can react to DI and DI back. But when you put all of those mechanics in the most important part of the screen, which is the footsies range, that's the most important part. And you're adding 10 plus options that I have to think about, and all of them can lead to death, lead to 40%, then this is not fun anymore. The part of the screen that is supposed to be the most fun, this area, the back and forth dance that everyone knows about, is no longer fun because now the dance has become, I'm just, a matador and the bull is rushing at me. No matter what I do, I'm always holding up the red flag and he's rushing at me. Even if I evaded him, I'm in that ring. I'm in that ring still, and I'm in that ring until I die. Or I come out the victor only to come back into that ring the next day. Before, it used to be like a beautiful dance. There was, it was salsa. It was beautiful. Now it's just you're in the ring with the bull. And it's not a good feeling, man. And I also want to highlight something obviously, let's say if I get a drive rush jab in neutral as Ken, I'm going to convert it into target combo into Rantatsu. Now, that's not doing 40%. What it does is it puts the person in the corner for the throw loop situation of the game. Take another character, most characters' neutral drive rush is not going to lead to 40-45% unless they convert all their drive meter and it leads into some sort of level 3. But what we're talking about here is it leads to another system mechanic, such as the throw loop, that puts you right back into the same okie doke, and throws not only build you so much meter for throwing the opponent, but it also builds meter for the person who's getting looped. Have you seen it? If you haven't focused on this before, pay attention to how much meter you build and how much they build for getting hit. I'll get a perfect on somebody. Yeah, I'll get a perfect on somebody. I have a bar and a half. I have a level 1 super, and I've built up maybe a level 2 for getting that perfect, right? I look at my opponent's meter. They have level 1 super. I'm like, what did they do to get level 1 super? I perfected them.
Actually, they'll have a bar and a half, 100%. Sorry, JB. I'll see JB literally, like, he'll just let go of his stick, like, take a throw, just so that he could build the bar. Yeah, he'll literally look at you, he'll taunt in your face, and be like, throw me. You throw me, you lose the game. And it's like, wait. And I'm looking at his bar, and I'm just like, dog, he's about to gain 20% from this throw. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I'm burnt out or whatever. Maybe I have low drive gauge. And I'm like, in order to even think about winning, I have to try to force a hit, a clean hit. If I throw the person, I lose the game. It's so insane to think about. This goes back to what I said, right? You start the match off with that every single round. Every single round, there are 6 little things right under your health bar. As I also mentioned, right, with Tekken, and I don't know why I would use the heat engage burst, whatever it's called. I would use that sparingly, and then I was like, wait, and they're telling me, they're like, dog, every time you get a hit, use it. And I'm like, why? That sounds so stupid. Like, why would I do that? And then again, they remind me, you have it every round. So you know what I would do? You know, any random hit, any force situation, anytime I'm even afraid, and I think this is the worst part, anytime I feel like I'm in danger, let it rip. Force guess. Low, if I hit the low, it's my turn. If I make them block the mid, I'm plus on block. I hit the low, my turn. God forbid they get hit with the mid, my turn. And I have up to like 3 chances of forced 50-50s. I went from never playing Tekken ever to, I think it's like red rank, then purple rank, then blue rank. I was almost already like a god.
Well, consider also, like, you know, we're prone to pick up a new fighting game faster than the average player, you know, and also considering you have experience with so many different fighting games, it'll be a little bit easier for you to understand how to abuse things. So you'll rank up faster. But the point is that you're recognizing how absolutely dumbed down these mechanics are. Yeah. And you don't feel like you're learning. And I think that's such again, a beautiful aspect of fighting games is feeling like you walked away from this session, from this first to 5 or first to 10, like you learned something, like you did something productive. I can tell you that even though Maya's new and there's probably some things that I could do better, which you mentioned yesterday on your stream, I still feel like, well, even if I learn these things, I'm going to deal with the same exact situation again. I just hope that God's on my side and I guess correctly. If you could sit in the dev room right now, what's one change you would make to fix this meta? Let's just focus on Street Fighter 6. How would you fix the meta to make it more fun?
I think each developer, including Capcom, they need to allow a different type of way to play a video game. And it can't just be designed off of the mechanics of the game. Developers need to understand, if in order to deal with something basic is to be a god, it's flawed. It's flawed by default. Because if only 5% of players can actually do something, you know the move, the mechanic, the option is not a good option. EX fan. So in order to deal with EX fan, you can't parry, you can't press a button, you can't do any of this stuff, right? Realistically, I'm not talking about, oh, but what if you get the read and he does this instead of that? No, realistically, You cannot deal with fan full screen unless you perfect parry. And now, as the player, right, and this is where I told you, right, where people are getting frustrated, but they're not frustrated at the fan. They're frustrated at the game. Because if my only real logical answer to deal with fan is to risk sitting there and getting a perfect parry, something that not even the best players in the world even try to do, especially consistently. You mean to tell me that there's just not something wrong with the mechanic itself? Don't you think parry at that point is flawed? If not everyone can do something that's defensive, mind you, anyone can do anything offensive. My mother can learn how to drive rush and do jab throw. I could teach my mother that. My mother will never be able to perfect parry a day in her life. Why is it that the offensive mechanic takes, I don't even know if it's 1% of brain power. I don't even
know if it takes a 1% of brain power to throw an EX fireball once you get to a competent level.
Or drive rush or button drive rush. But the defensive mechanic, which is parry, which is drive reversal, which is, perfect frame punish, it's certain range and all this other stuff, right? Why is it that is so much harder? I'll ask you, what is your perfect parry ratio on a fireball full screen?
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't looked at the data, but I can tell you that certain fireballs give me a much harder time to perfect parry than other fireballs. Like Akuma's light fireball is so hard for me to perfect parry. Ken's fireballs are easy for me. Ryu's fireballs are relatively easy for me, but Akuma's fireballs are hard. Guile's sonic booms, especially light sonic boom, good luck perfect parrying that. And then Mai's EX fans are actually really hard for me to perfect parry.
And this is the thing. We, as seasoned players at this point, right? I've been doing this professionally, right? Since 2010. It's 15 years ago. And I think my perfect parry ratio on a regular fireball is 30 to 40%. It's just one of those things where the defensive mechanics are just way too hard to do and utilize in these games compared to the offense.
That's what you would tell them, is to make the defensive mechanics much stronger to deal with how easy the offense gets started.
Yep, the perfect example for that is Rashid's down back fierce. You ever try to perfect parry that? If he does fierce, it's a down back fierce. Do you know that you cannot drive reversal the second hit of the actual tornado? So you know how the tornado's 3 hits? You can't drive reversal the second hit. So you can only drive reversal the beginning of it or the end of it. What ends up happening is if you drive reversal the end of it, he's safe, can block, and kill you. So what I try to do to deal with that move is if I know he's going for it, I try to parry, and then I drive reversal as fast as possible. I fail about 60% of the time, which means I get punished 60% of the time. And by that logic, I'm using 2 different defensive mechanics, and they both fail. There is something just wrong with developers.
Somebody could say, well, just if you know that he's doing it, get your perfect parry timing right.
Okay, now he can do medium punch into that, fierce into that, jab into that. He could just throw it out raw. I don't even know why, but he'd do it anyway. The timing will always change.
Or not that, and just wait a second and then drive rush right in front of your face into crouch light kick.
Yeah, and then you die, right? Or throw you and then tornado. What I would do is I would sit down with these developers and be like, this is what I would do. I would make them try to parry something. I would make them try to use the red parry in Fatal Fury. I would try to make them flawless block and punish. I would try to make them use their own mechanic. I bet you they wouldn't be able to do it ever.
Let's end it with this question. And this is something that I'll be asking. I asked Reinhardt this. I'm asking you. I'll ask Vi on this as well. Why do developers keep ignoring what high level players are saying. We've seen constant feedback about stuff like throw loops or drive rush, and nothing seems to have changed. It seems like parry even got better, but I still think that in the grand scheme of things, it's a little bit weak. Why do you think they're not listening? What's going on here? Maybe not listening to the fullest extent. Sorry, not listening to the fullest extent, because they nerfed OD Amnesia. They are listening to the community, but the core problems that we're facing that's making us say things like, man, this game sucks, or man, like I'm not having fun. Like, why are they not listening to that?
Well, one part of it, and I don't, I like, and this is the thing, right? Because I don't know the actual science behind it. I don't know the math. I haven't paid attention to the finances of whether or not this actually works. Making a game easier, does that sell more? I don't think so. I don't. If NRS is anything to go by, people were gonna buy the game regardless. They were gonna play story mode, and then they were gonna never touch the game again. But they get the sale, and that's all that mattered. Because clearly they're not paying attention to whether or not the game plays well, or whether or not the game will last years. You already know the answer to both of that is no. So if that's the case, right? Why is it that the game is still outselling everything? I don't think they've ever listened to us. When it comes to like Street Fighter and all these other games where you knew, and the reason why you played these games was because it was a little harder. If it was a challenge, competition felt great. You were rewarded for learning more than your opponent. I think a part of them believes that if they make the game easier, more people will play. But would you rather have that? Like, let's say there's I don't know, I'm gonna be generous, a 20% increase in players, right? Because the game is easier or whatever. I don't think that that warrants everyone saying that they hate the game.
Like the consequence of that is your best players, the ones everyone is watching, shares a disdain, a similar type of distaste of what they're playing. And I think this is also unhealthy for the casual audience, for the player who's trying to be one of the best players in the world, and they're looking for inspiration from the best players in the world, and they don't know what to do either. It's like they're hitting that plateau where it's like, man, this is low-key not really fun. And words are very powerful. Words are very, very powerful. If you hear a certain phrase so many times, you start saying it yourself, and it can affect your mind negatively as well. I think that that's a serious problem that needs to be looked at too, because I'm noticing that it's not just the best players in the world that are having these issues, but now on Twitter, it seems like even the players that are in that 1700, 1900 who are like, right there, they're also crashing out too, because they're realizing, man, this is just not fun. And they can't see the steps that they have to take in order to excel, because I feel like there are no steps anymore. It's just like a escalator or something that just like moves you up. You know what I'm saying? Like there aren't like productive, healthy steps to take anymore. Just feels all like chores, and you don't feel rewarded when you do the chore anyway, because you know that you're still gonna face level 2. Like I literally asked Gachikun, what do you recommend that I do? He said, look for the overhead and take the throw. Take the two guaranteed throws. Take those 2 guaranteed throws. Rashid is guaranteed 2 throws in that situation. That's so huge at the end of the round. It's so huge. You're guaranteeing that because that's the safest option. That's the option that is the smartest option. Is like, if I try to tech the throw here, I could lose 60%. And that's not exaggerating it.
Oh no, 100%. That is exactly what happens. I think the developers, they want more casual players to play the game, right? And now they're probably, like most people think that if you bridge the gap, that'll bring more players. But now what only ends up happening is maybe 5% of those players will actually bridge the gap.
Yes, I mean, we've seen it with like new generation players and like the ending walkers, the Noahs and whatnot. Like they obviously are, they're good. Yeah, but everybody else, no. Yeah. Blaz.
Think about the random person, right? Going from Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 4, a random player just mashing and stuff, right? We're going to take the same instance, right? Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 6. Both random new person, never played fighting games before, is just gonna mash their way, right? Street Fighter 4. They're playing, they're like, oh, okay, like, I guess I can do this, I guess I can do that. But now, they've reached that point. They reached the point where they can fireball most of the time. They can uppercut most of the time, right? And now they're going into combos. And they watch a video, or they watch their favorite player, or watch whatever, right? And they go, wait, you can do that? So if you can do that, if I try really hard, I can do that? I can do something that other people can't do? Right? So they start to weigh whether or not they want to commit to learning what their favorite players are doing, learning what the video on the screen is telling them. But then, and again, like, they'll either stop or they'll continue, right? It's up to them, right? Regardless of the case, who cares, right? Street Fighter 6, they're doing all this stuff. They're pressing all these buttons and stuff and blah, 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 blah. That same part happens. Because again, like, what developers aren't understanding is that you'll always reach that same area, that same time in space. You'll always reach that part where the player goes, do I keep going or not? But in Street Fighter 6's case is, okay, I'm playing, I'm mashing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Okay, now you watch a video. This is the end goal. I will never be able to learn something that somebody else can't learn. I'll never be special. If I don't win this tournament, I am not special. I will never stand out. Because a lot of people, right, they want to learn, but they want to learn in their own way. They want to act like what they're doing matters, right? In these games, unless you're winning, you are another bum. And you reach that point where you go, damn, if this is the next level of learning how to play the game, that means everyone's going to be doing it to me too. Because especially if you learn it, let's say you learn it, like you finally reach master. And this is where a lot of people, they come into my chat and they're like, I just reached master, but I want to quit now. Because what they're seeing, what they're experiencing is absolutely vile. It's disgusting. You know, like you climb over the valley, you know, it's sunnier over there, it's nicer over there. Not in Street Fighter 6. Yep, when you go over there, when you finally, you think things are going to be great, you think you're going to be rewarded with gold and riches and stuff. Nope.
You hit master rank. Now the real demons and goblins and trolls are going to come out.
You should see me sitting in the back, like with horns. Like I am the worst of your troubles. Like, and players will literally come into my chat and they're like, Chris, I don't know if I can do this. And developers need to understand that not only will you push those players away, but you might push them even further because they never want to deal with that again. They're running off to different games and they realize it's the same thing. Like, it doesn't get better. Because every developer took a page out of everyone's book, it doesn't get better. Everywhere you go, Fatal Fury will be the same. Tekken became the same. 2XKO is going to be the same. Hunter x Hunter is going to be the same. No matter where you go, you are not safe.
I think that is a perfect place to stop this episode. Welcome to hell as I wear my cross. Because that's literally what it feels like. I feel like I'm going into battle with demons every day on ranked match. And obviously, when we're in tournaments, we're dealing with the first to twos. And it's such a hard environment to excel in right now. Chris, thank you. Thank you for hopping on this episode, man. Thanks for sharing your insight. And I really wanted to talk about this because of the recent trend of me crashing out more and the other players crashing out more. And I'm happy that you were able to at least shed some light from all the years of experience that you have on why we're feeling this way right now. And hopefully, God willing, things change in the future and we have a little bit more fun playing our favorite fighting games again. Chris, where can people find you?
Oh, everything at NYChrisG. Literally everything. Twitch, freaking Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. I guess last words is I was going to play Street Fighter 6 right after that, but I realized I'm a little tired, and you are not allowed to play Street Fighter 6 tired. So, because you will lose every one of your matches. So what I'm going to do is take a nap, and I'm going to dream happy thoughts, and I'm going to try to wake up as refreshed as possible and get ready to fight the demons.
I'll see that modern Mai in hell. Take it easy. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching the episode. If you liked it, like and subscribe for more content. Show some love to Chris G. I'll post the links as well. Thank you. Have a good day.